I lost my job in 5 minutes. One moment, I was standing in the break room with a cheap coffee, and the next my boss was calling me into his office with that tired look on his face. He did not even ask me to sit. He just slid an envelope across the desk and said the words I had been hearing about on the news for months. Budget cuts. I am really sorry, Marcus. 3 years of climbing poles in the freezing Chicago wind, fixing wiring on old homes and small shops, gone with one handshake. I walked out of that building with a final check in my hand and nowhere to go. I am 29 years old, and that day I became another number on someone's spreadsheet. The worst part was not losing the job, it was the calls after. My grandmother picked up on the second ring like she always does. Her voice sounded tired and thin. She had just come back from another doctor's appointment. More insulin, more test strips, more pills, more bills. "How's work, me, Joe?" she asked. "Good," I lied. "Busy. I'll send money next week like always." "Okay, baby, don't work too hard," she said. I hung up and stared at my bank app. $472. Rent was due in 6 days. My sister Sarah texted close to midnight, "Can you send $300 for textbooks?" They are holding my schedule. Nursing school does not wait. I stared at her message for a long time before typing back, "Yeah, I'll make it work." I did not tell either of them I had no idea how. That week I applied for 19 jobs. Electrician work, construction, maintenance, anything where I could use my hands and not sit behind a desk. I got 2 callbacks. One offered $12 an hour with no benefits. The other wanted 5 years of commercial experience. I had 3 years residential. Close, but not close enough. By the 4th day, my chest felt tight all the time. I was sitting on my mattress, half-packed boxes around me, wondering which bill I could skip, when my phone rang with a number I did not know. "Marcus Hayes speaking," I said. "Hello, Marcus. This is Sarah from Premium Staffing Solutions," a woman's voice said, sharp and professional. "We received your application for maintenance roles. I have something a bit different, but the pay is excellent." My heart sped up. "What kind of job?" I asked. "Live-in care assistant for a private client, full-time," she said. "Room and board included. Salary is—" She named a number that made me sit up straight. It was almost 3 times what I had been making on the lines. "What's the catch?" I asked. She paused for a second. "The client is particular," she said. "Previous assistants have not worked out." "How many?" I asked. "That is not important," she said quickly. "What matters is that you are available and can start immediately. Can you?" I thought about my grandmother's medicine, my sister's textbooks, my empty bank account. "Yes," I said, "I can start tomorrow." When you are desperate, you do not ask enough questions. You just grab what is in front of you and hope it does not fall apart. The next morning, I stuffed everything I owned into 2 duffel bags. Work boots, jeans, a few shirts, the old rosary my grandmother gave me when I turned 18. I tossed them in the backseat of my beat-up Honda and drove north out of the city. The address took me almost an hour outside Chicago, into one of those places where the houses have gates and the streets have names like Deer Run instead of numbers. The gate in front of this one was solid iron, higher than my head. I pressed the call button. A camera above the gate moved to look right at my car. Nobody spoke, but a second later, the gate rolled open. The driveway curved through tall oak trees, the kind that have been there longer than any of us. At the end sat a stone house that looked like it belonged in a movie. Tall windows, perfect roofline, everything neat and quiet and expensive. I parked my Honda next to a black Mercedes that probably cost more than I would earn in 5 years. The front door opened before I could knock. A man in a vest, maybe in his 50s, stood there. His posture was straight, his eyes sharp. "Mr. Hayes?" he asked. "Yes, sir," I said. "I am Mr. Whitmore, household manager. Follow me." He handed me a tablet as soon as I crossed the threshold. A contract was already open on the screen. Confidentiality agreement, live-in terms, work hours, daily duties. I scrolled fast, my brain only catching pieces. Care assistance, medication reminders, physical support, light cooking, Client's name is Miss Victoria, he said. She has very clear expectations. Is she sick? I asked. He checked his watch instead of answering. Sign at the bottom, he said. We can discuss details later. I signed with my finger. Inside, the house echoed with every step. Dark wood floors, pale walls, art on the walls that looked like it belonged in a museum. The kitchen was all stainless steel and marble, everything shining. A large room that used to be a ballroom had been turned into a rehab space. Parallel bars, exercise mats, strange machines. My room was small but clean. A twin bed, a desk, a little bathroom. It looked like a hotel room someone had not used in a while. Mr. Whitmore handed me a printed schedule. Breakfast at 8. Medication at 9, 12, and 6. Physical therapy at 10 and 3. Lights out by 10, he said. Miss Victoria likes routine. What does she need help with exactly? I asked. He glanced toward the hallway leading deeper into the house. She will show you herself, he said. I have a meeting in the city. I will return tomorrow. Then he left. The front door clicked shut. The house swallowed the sound and went still. I stood in the hallway holding the schedule, listening to nothing. No TV, no music, just the faint hum of the heating system. Okay, I muttered to myself. Time to meet the boss. The east wing had floor-to-ceiling windows that looked out over a frozen garden, bare branches, gray sky, patches of old snow. She sat there in a wheelchair, back straight, a journal open on her lap. She looked younger than I expected, maybe 33. Her dark hair was pulled back tight. Her face was pale but strong. When she looked up, her eyes were sharp and careful, like she was measuring me in one long look. Another one, she said softly, more to herself than to me, then louder, You must be the latest hire. What is your name? Marcus Hayes, I said. I stayed near the doorway. I am ready to start whenever you need me. She gave a short, humorless laugh. Start, she said. Most people do not make it through one full day. Nobody has lasted a week living with me in this house. Her tone was calm, but I could hear the challenge under it. She wanted me to flinch, to back up, to ask for a way out. I did not. I am here now, I said. What do you need first? She looked at me for a long time, like she was deciding whether I was worth the effort. Then she pointed at the glass of water on the table beside her. Bring me that, she said. I walked over and picked it up. As I held it out, she knocked it out of my hand with a sharp, fast movement. Water splashed across the rug and my boots. She watched my face like she was waiting for a crack. Clean it up, she said. I went to the kitchen, found towels, came back and wiped the floor. She wheeled closer and watched me the whole time. When I stood up, I met her eyes. What next? I asked. Lunch, coffee, pills, the rehab room. Every task came with a test. The sandwich was wrong. The plate was too cold. The wheelchair angle was off. The way I held her arm during transfers was clumsy. Each time, I fixed it without arguing. By dinner, I understood. This was not about the sandwich or the glass of water. She was pushing to see when I would break, when I would walk out like the others. During her evening meds, she accidentally knocked the pill organizer onto the floor. Capsules and tablets flew everywhere, rolling under furniture and across the wood. You are taking too long, she said, watching me kneel and gather them one by one. You are just like all the others. You will leave soon. They all do. They cannot handle this. They cannot handle me. I picked up the last pill and stood. My knees ached. My back hurt. My head was full of my grandma, my sister, my empty account. If you want me gone, I said quietly, dismiss me. She blinked. Otherwise, I added, holding her gaze for the first time that day, I am not leaving. I will keep doing my job. Something shifted in her expression. Just for a second. Surprise, confusion, maybe a crack in the wall she had spent 3 years building. She turned her chair toward the dark window. We will see, she said. But she did not dismiss me. The first night, I lay on the small bed in my room and stared at the ceiling. My phone lit up with 3 missed calls from Sarah and a text from my grandmother asking if I was eating. I told them both I was fine, that I found good work, that I would send money soon. I did not tell them about the glass of water on the floor, or the pills scattered across the rug, or the woman in the wheelchair who seemed determined to make me quit. I just told them everything was okay, because that is what they needed to hear, and because maybe if I said it enough, it would become true. The next morning, my alarm went off at 6:30. By 7 o'clock, I was in the kitchen with the printed schedule in my hand. Coffee at exactly 185 degrees, the paper said. I filled the kettle, ground the beans, watched the thermometer like a bomb timer. When it hit 185, I poured and checked twice to make sure it did not move. I carried the cup to her room. Victoria was already sitting up in bed, tablet in her lap. Her hair was neat. Her face was calm in that tight way I was starting to recognize. She took the cup, took one small sip, set it back down. "Too weak," she said. "Make it again." "No, please. No, thank you." I took the cup back, made it stronger, checked the temperature again, brought it to her. She sipped, nodded once, and went back to her tablet without a word. That was how the days went. Every little thing was a test. The breakfast was too cool, the eggs too firm, the toast too dark. The newspaper was from the wrong pile. The window was open too far. The blinds were too low. There was always something. Physical therapy was worse. I would help her transfer from the chair to the padded bench. Her legs did not move at all, so everything had to be careful, controlled. Her upper body was strong but tight. Her shoulders tensed every time I put my hands under her arms to help her. "You are doing it wrong," she snapped one morning. "You are going to drop me." "You are safe," I said. "I have you." Quote, "You do not understand what you are here for," she said. I adjusted my grip and said nothing. She pulled away from my hands even while letting me support her, like she needed the help and hated that she needed it at the same time. During exercises, she would push herself until her arms shook. "You are wasting your time," she muttered one afternoon as I handed her the resistance bands. "This body is not worth fixing." I lowered the bands a bit to make them easier. "I am not giving up," I said quietly. "You are stuck with me." She did not answer, but she did another set. By the third day, I started noticing things she did not think I saw, like the photo in the nightstand drawer. I opened it once to get her evening medication, and there it was. A younger version of her standing tall in a dark suit, smiling at the camera with her arm around a man in an expensive watch. They stood in front of a big company logo. They looked powerful, happy, certain. Dust had gathered on the frame. She had not thrown it away, but she also had not cleaned it in a long time. And the phone calls. Every few days I would hear her voice down the hall. "No, I do not need visitors," she would say. "I am fine." Pause. "No, really, I am fine. I do not want people seeing me like this." Another pause. "I have to go." Then the call would end, and the house would get quiet again. On the fourth day, I was in the laundry room folding towels when I heard her on the phone. This time, her voice sounded different. Softer. Tired. "I know you are worried," she said. "But I do not want people looking at me the way he did. Like I am broken." I stood there with a towel in my hands and felt that sentence in my chest. When the call ended, I waited a few minutes, then walked out with the towels like I had not heard anything. She was by the window again, journal closed, looking outside at the frozen garden. That night in my room, my curiosity finally won. I pulled out my phone, sat on the edge of the bed, and searched her name. Victoria Calville. Article after article popped up. Tech magazines, business blogs, news sites. She had built a cybersecurity company from nothing, it said. College dropout, self-taught. Worked from her apartment until she could not fit any more computers in there. Sold her first software to a major bank, hired a small team, built it into a billion-dollar company in less than 10 years. There were pictures of her on conference stages, standing at podiums, smiling at ribbon cuttings. In almost all of them, the same man from the photo in her drawer was at her side. Then, the headlines changed. Skiing accident in Switzerland. Collision on a Black Diamond run. Severe spinal cord injury. Doctors said she would never walk again. After that, the article slowed down, then stopped completely. One short piece mentioned a canceled wedding. Sources say the engagement has ended. It read, "No details, just a clean cut on paper." I thought about my own story. My dad left when I was 10. One morning he packed a bag and walked out the door. No big fight, no long speech, just gone. My grandmother took us in. She worked 2 jobs, cooked, cleaned, helped us with homework, fell asleep in front of the TV most nights, but never complained. She never left. Maybe that is why I did not. On the 5th day, something cracked during therapy. Victoria was on the bench, trying to do arm lifts with light weights. Sweat ran down the side of her face. Her hand shook. She dropped the weights, and they hit the mat with a dull thud. "This is pointless," she said. "I am not getting better. Why are we doing this?" Quote, I put the weights back on the rack. Usually I would have stayed quiet, waited for her to restart. But this time she stared at the floor, and I heard the question under the question. "Why are you still here?" she asked. Her voice was very small. "The others quit by now." "Why have you not?" I moved around to face her. I locked the wheels on her chair and crouched so we were eye level. "Because I said I would stay," I said. "If you want me to go, you can tell me, but until then, I am here." She looked right into my face, searching for something, waiting for me to laugh, to say I was kidding, to tell her I would leave as soon as I found something better. I did not. "Everyone leaves eventually," she said. "I am still here," I answered. We stayed like that for a few seconds. Then she turned her head away. "Put the weights back on the shelf," she said. "We are done for today." That night at dinner, the house felt different. Softer around the edges. She ate slowly. I stood nearby like always, waiting to clear her plate. Halfway through the meal, she set down her fork. "It happened on a ski slope in Switzerland," she said. I turned. She was looking at the wall, not at me. "Some guy lost control and hit me at full speed," she said. 1 second I was fine. The next thing I remember is waking up in a hospital bed with 1,000 tubes in me. I stayed quiet and listened. "They told me I would never walk again," she said. I did not believe them at first. I thought I could work my way out of it. I have always worked my way out of things, but they were right. Her hands were folded in her lap. Her knuckles were pale. "Everything changed after that," she went on. "The company, my friends, my fiancé. He stayed for 3 months. Then he started coming less. Then he stopped. He actually sent his assistant to pick up his clothes from the hospital." I pulled out a chair and sat down across from her. It felt wrong to stand while she was carrying all that weight alone. "I am sorry," I said. She gave a small, tired smile. "Do not be," she said. "I learned something important. People say they will stay, but when things get hard, they leave." "Not everyone," I said. She finally looked at me. "No?" she asked. "No," I said. My grandmother never left. She raised 3 kids that were not hers, and now I take care of her because that is what she did for us. Some people stay. She watched me for a long moment, then, very quietly, she said, "Maybe." That night, I was reading in bed when the alarm sounded. Not my phone. The emergency bell from her room. I threw the blanket off and ran down the hall. We had a rule. For emergencies, I did not have to knock. She was sitting up in bed, both hands gripping the headboard. Her face was white. Sweat dripped down her neck. Her whole body shook. "Marcus," she gasped. "It is happening again." I knew what she meant. I had read her file. Nerve pain from the spinal injury. It could hit without warning, like someone pouring electricity into her spine. I grabbed her medication, poured water, wrapped a cold cloth. By the time I came back, her eyes were squeezed shut and her jaw was clenched through another wave. "Here," I said gently. I slid an arm behind her shoulders to prop her up, held the glass so she could swallow the pills. Water spilled down her chin. I wiped it away with the cloth. The pain came in waves. Her back would arch slightly. Her fingers would dig into the sheet. Then the pain would drop, and she would suck in air. Then it would rise again. I kept one hand on her shoulder, steady and light, just so she knew I was there. She did not talk much during it. Once, in the middle of a bad wave, she said my name. Marcus, like she was holding on to that one word. 50 minutes. That is how long it lasted. I watched the clock on her nightstand. Every minute felt longer than the last. When it finally began to fade, she sagged back against the pillows. Her hair was stuck to her face. Her shirt was damp. She looked exhausted, hollowed out. I fixed her blankets, checked her breathing, started to stand up to give her space. Her hand shot out and grabbed my wrist. "Why do you not leave?" she asked. Her voice was a rough whisper. All the others did. After the first time they saw this, they left. Quote, I sat back down on the edge of the bed. "Because I know what it feels like to be left," I said. "And I will not do that to you." She stared at me like she was trying to decide if she could believe me. Her grip slowly loosened. Her eyes closed. "Thank you," she whispered. I stayed until her breathing evened out and her face relaxed. Only then did I go back to my room. My hands were shaking. My head felt crowded. Something had changed tonight, and I knew it. This was not just a job anymore, and whether I liked it or not, I was already in too deep to pretend it was. Things were different after that night. It was not like a movie where everything changes in one big dramatic scene. It was slow and quiet, like ice starting to melt. At breakfast the next morning, Victoria did not complain about the coffee. She took a sip, looked at me for a moment, and just said, "Thank you." No extra words. But it was the first thank you I had heard from her. During therapy, she still pushed herself hard, but she stopped snapping at me. When I helped her move from the chair to the bench, she watched my hands and nodded once, instead of criticizing every movement. "You can lift under my shoulders," she said, calm. "Just keep my back straight." "Got it," I said. Her voice did not have that sharp edge anymore. In the afternoons, she started asking small questions. "How long have you been an electrician?" 3 years. "Do you miss it?" Quote, "Sometimes," I said. "I miss the feeling of fixing something broken and seeing the lights come on." She went quiet at that. Later that day, she surprised me by asking another question. "You said your grandmother raised you," she said while I adjusted her wheelchair near the window. "Where were your parents?" "My mom died when I was 6, I said. "My dad left when I was 10. He walked out one morning and never came back." She stared at the frozen garden outside for a long time. "And your grandmother stayed," she said. "Yeah," I answered. "She never once talked about leaving." Victoria nodded slowly. "That must be nice," she said, "knowing someone will stay even when everything is hard." "I think everyone deserves that," I said. She did not respond, but her eyes looked different, softer. A few days later, we had a small break between exercises. I was wiping down the parallel bars when she spoke again. "The accident was not the worst part," she said. I looked at her. She was staring at a knot in the wooden floor. "The worst part," she said, "was waking up and realizing my whole life moved on without me. The company found a new CEO. My friends stopped calling. My fiancé disappeared." She let out a breath. "At first he came every day," she said, "sat by my bed, brought flowers, talked about how we would get through it. Then it was every few days. Then once a week. Then his assistant came to pick up his things from my apartment. He did not even say goodbye himself." "I am sorry," I said quietly. "It taught me something," she said. "People do not like being around broken things." "You are not broken," I said. She gave a small, tired smile. "Tell that to my legs," she said. "You are still here," I said. "You are still fighting. That is not broken. That is strong." She looked away, but I saw the way her throat moved like she was swallowing something. The second week passed, then the third. Our routine stayed the same, but it felt different. We talked more during meals. Little things at first. Weather. News. A funny video Mr. Whitmore sent her. Then, deeper things. She asked about my sister, so I told her how Sarah was studying to be a nurse and working 2 jobs at the same time. "She wants to work with kids," I said. "She has always been like that. When we were little, she would bring home stray cats and try to fix them with bandages and tape." "Does she know you are here?" Victoria asked. "Yes," I said. "She is proud. My grandma, too." They think I am working for some important lady in a big house. Quote, "And you are," Victoria said. Her tone was lighter, almost playful. I caught myself smiling and looked away before she saw. One night, near the end of the third week, my phone rang just as I finished cleaning the kitchen. It was Sarah. "Marcus," she said. Her voice sounded tight. "You sitting down?" "That bad?" I asked. "It is Grandma," she said. Her blood sugar crashed. She passed out. They took her to the hospital. My stomach dropped. "Is she okay?" I asked. "They brought her back," she said. "She is stable now, but the doctor says she needs a different type of insulin from now on. Better stuff. The insurance will not cover it." "How much?" I asked. There was a pause. $2,000 off, she said. I leaned against the counter. My brain started doing math and running into walls. $2,000 off every month, on top of rent, food, Sarah's books. "I will figure it out," I said. "Marcus, you cannot," she said. "You are already sending money. This is too much." "I said I will figure it out," I repeated. "How is she now?" "Asking about you," she said. She told the nurse her grandson is stubborn and will take care of it. A laugh came out of me that was half broken. "Yeah," I said. "That sounds like her." When I hung up, I stood alone in the kitchen. My hands were shaking. The house felt huge and empty again. I pressed my palms against the counter and closed my eyes. 2,000 a month. Even with this job, that was more than I could manage. I did not hear her come in. Her wheels were very quiet on the hardwood. "Marcus," she said behind me. I turned. Victoria was in the doorway, wrapped in a soft gray robe, her hair down for once, loose around her shoulders. "Is everything okay?" she asked. For a second, I almost lied. It was my first reflex, to say everything was fine. But something in her face stopped me. The way she was looking at me, really looking, not just as the help. "My grandmother is in the hospital," I said. "Her diabetes got worse. She needs new medication we cannot afford." "How much?" she asked. I hesitated. $2,000 a month," I said. She did not flinch. She just nodded once. "Come to my office at 9 in the morning," she said, "before therapy." "Why?" I asked. "Just come," she said, "and try to sleep." Then she turned and wheeled away. Her office was on the second floor. I had never been in there before. At 8:59, I stood outside the door, feeling like a kid called to the principal. "Come in," she said when I knocked. The room was different from the rest of the house. The rest of the house felt like a hotel. This room felt like a mind. 3 monitors on a big desk. Whiteboards on the wall covered with writing, diagrams, sticky notes, stacks of folders. Technical books. A framed photo of the old office from before the accident. This was where she used to live. I could feel it. She was at the desk, typing. She finished whatever she was writing and turned to me. "I made some calls last night," she said, "to some old contacts from before the accident. People in medical supply." She tapped a folder on the desk. "Your grandmother's medication," she said. "I can get it at cost, $200 a month instead of $2,000. I stared at her. "What?" I said. "It is already set up," she said. "The pharmacy near your grandmother will get a call today. You just need to confirm her name and date of birth." "I cannot let you do that," I said. "That is too much." She looked right at me. "Marcus, you have been here almost a month," she said. "You have taken care of me at my worst without once asking for anything. Let me do this." "I am not here for charity," I said. Her eyes softened. "I know," she said. "That is exactly why I want to help, please." It was the second time I had heard that word from her. It hit harder than I expected. I let out a breath I did not know I was holding. "Thank you," I said. My voice came out rough. "You are welcome," she said simply. She gestured to the chair next to her desk. "Sit," she said. "There is something else I want to show you." I sat down. She turned the middle monitor toward me. On the screen was a document. The title at the top read, "The Caldwell Foundation, Accessibility and Innovation." "It is a non-profit," she said. I have been working on this for a while. It has just been gathering dust, like me. Quote, she gave a small, wry smile. The idea is simple, she said. Fund equipment and support for people with disabilities. Pay for ramps, adapted cars, home changes. Support research. Create programs to help people get back to work. She started scrolling. I saw budgets, charts, lists of possible partners. She had thought of everything. I have enough money to fund this on my own for years, she said. What I do not have is someone to help me run it. Someone I trust not to turn it into a vanity project. She looked at me. I need a partner, Marcus, she said. Not an employee, a partner. I stared at her. My brain tried to catch up. You mean me? I asked. Yes, she said. You told me I could still build something that matters. You were right. But I do not want to build it alone. You know what it feels like to struggle. You know how to stay when things are hard. I need that. I do not know anything about foundations, I said. I am just some guy who used to fix wiring. Her eyes did not leave mine. You know how to work hard, she said. You know how to care about people. I can teach you the rest. I thought about my grandmother alone in a hospital bed, about my sister trying to become a nurse, about the people who would need ramps and equipment and help. I thought about Victoria at the parallel bars, fighting to pull herself upright when the doctors said she never would. Why me? I asked softly. Because you did not leave, she said. Everyone else did. You did not. And because when you look at me, you do not look at the chair first. You look at me. My chest felt tight. Okay, I said, I am in. Her shoulders relaxed. A real smile spread across her face. It changed her whole expression. Good, she said. Then we start today. We spent the rest of the morning going through the plan together. She explained the structure. I asked questions. She listened to my ideas and actually wrote them down. Her voice came alive in that office. The sharp, defensive woman I met on day one was still there sometimes, but underneath her was someone else. Someone who loved building things, solving problems, helping people. After lunch, we went to the therapy room. She wheeled herself between the parallel bars. Usually, she waited for me to guide her hands into place, but this time she reached up on her own, her fingers wrapped around the metal. Ready? I asked. Ready, she said. She pulled. Her arms trembled, but she did not stop. 1 inch, 2 inches, more. Her body rose from the chair until she was standing. Her legs were in braces, not doing any of the work, but she was upright. Her head higher. Her back straighter. She stayed there. 5 seconds. 10. 15. Then she lowered herself slowly back into the chair. When she looked up at me, her eyes were full of tears, but she was smiling. I did it, she said. Her voice shook. I stood. You did, I said. You proved them wrong. She laughed once, a broken little sound that turned into a sob. I stepped closer. Hey, I said softly. I thought I would never stand again, she whispered. I thought that part of my life was gone. It is not, I said. You just proved that. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand and took a breath. Tomorrow, she said, I want to try again. Every day, I said, as long as you want. That evening, we ate dinner at the long table like always, but she did something new. Sit, she said, pointing at the chair across from her. You do not have to stand there like a statue all night. I sat. We ate in quiet for a while. The contract you signed, she said after a few minutes. It was for 4 months. I remember, I said. Next week is the end of month 1, she said. If I stopped paying you, would you leave? The question hit me like a punch. My fork stopped in the air. At first, I said slowly, I took this job because I needed money. My family needed it. That was the only reason. She watched me, waiting. But that is not why I'm here now, I said. I am here because I want to be, with you, in this house, on this project, whatever this is. Her eyes softened in a way that made it hard to breathe. She reached across the table and set her hand on mine. I do not love you because you helped me, she said quietly. I love you because you stayed when everyone else left. Because you see me. My heart stopped for a second. "I love you too," I said. The words felt right, simple, true. We sat there at that long, expensive table, her hand on mine, the room quiet around us. No music. No fancy lights. Just two people who had been left behind in different ways, choosing each other. Outside, the garden was still frozen. Inside, something new had started to grow. The week after we said "I love you" did not feel like a movie. There were no fireworks, no dramatic music. Life kept going. The alarm still went off at 6:30. Coffee still had to be the right temperature. Pills still needed to be taken on time. Therapy still hurt. The difference was in the small things. Victoria smiled more. Not big, flashy smiles, just quiet ones that showed up at odd times. When I made a dumb joke in the kitchen. When she stood a few seconds longer at the parallel bars. When she caught me humming while I folded towels. She started inviting me into her office every morning. We would sit side by side at her desk, going through plans for the Caldwell Foundation. She talked about budgets and grants, and I talked about people who might need help. A veteran we saw in an article who lost his leg and could not afford an adapted truck. A kid in my old neighborhood who used a worn-out wheelchair on broken sidewalks. "We can help them," she said, tapping notes into her computer. "All of them. Not today, but one by one." I believed her. My grandmother's new medication arrived at her pharmacy 2 days after that talk in the office. Sarah called me crying. "Her numbers are stable," she said. "The doctor said this will change everything." Grandma texted after, "Tell that lady thank you. And tell her I will be walking into that house one day to meet her." When I showed Victoria the text, she read it twice. Her eyes got shiny. "I like her already," she said. "Careful," I said. "She is bossy." "So am I," Victoria said. "We will get along." The first official meeting for the foundation came fast. Mr. Whitmore and I set up the old conference room at the end of the hall. Long table. Notepads. Water glasses. A screen for the presentation. I wore the only button-up shirt I owned that did not have a stain. I wheeled Victoria in at 10 on the dot. There were 20 people waiting. Therapists, lawyers, tech experts, a woman in a wheelchair who ran an online support group, a man with a prosthetic leg who designed adaptive sports gear. They all went quiet when she entered. I saw their faces. Some looked unsure, some looked hopeful. A few looked like they were not sure why they had said yes to this invite. Then Victoria started talking. She did not read from her notes. She spoke from memory, from her gut. "I used to think strength meant doing everything alone," she said. "Building a company, climbing every hill, never asking for help." She gestured to her chair. "Then life knocked me down and did not let me stand back up," she said. "I lost a lot. I let myself disappear. I told myself my story was over." She looked at me for half a second, just long enough for me to feel it. "But it is not over," she said. "For me, or for you, or for the people we are going to help." She outlined the foundation's purpose: grants for home changes, funding for equipment, support for getting back to work, programs run by people who knew what disability felt like, not just what it looked like on paper. As she spoke, I watched the room change, arms uncrossed. People leaned forward, heads nodded, eyes brightened. When she finished, the room was quiet for a breath. Then questions started. Good ones, hard ones, the kind that mean people care. She answered all of them. Calm, clear, strong. When the meeting ended, people lined up to talk to her, to shake her hand, to share their stories. She listened to every single one, like they were the only person in the world. I stood to the side, handing out folders, taking names, setting up follow-up calls. Once in a while, I caught her eyes on me. There was pride there, not just in what we were building, but in us. After the last person left, the conference room felt huge again. "We did it," she said. "You did it," I said. She shook her head. "Partners, remember?" she said. She held out her hand. Not like a patient, like an equal. "Partners," I said, taking it. A few weeks later, On a gray Saturday, I drove into the city to pick up my grandmother and Sarah. I had told them about Victoria. Not everything, but enough. That she was strong. That she was smart. That she was the reason we were keeping the lights on and my grandmother was on the right medicine. They wanted to meet her. My grandmother walked out of the hospital lobby slowly, using her cane. Sarah carried her bag. I hugged them both so hard my ribs hurt. "You look tired," Grandma said, patting my face, "but your eyes are different. Better." We drove out to the house. Grandma watched the trees out the window. "These people have too much money," she said, "but if she is kind, I will forgive it." I laughed. Victoria was waiting in the front hall when we came in. She had insisted on being there, even though getting down the stairs took extra effort. Her hair was loose again. She wore a soft blue sweater that made her eyes stand out. "Mrs. Reyes," she said, holding out her hand, "I am Victoria. It is so good to finally meet you." My grandmother did not look at the wheelchair first. She looked at her face. "Call me Alma," she said. "You are the girl who saved my grandson and my insulin." Victoria smiled, small and real. "He saved me first," she said. Sarah hugged Victoria like she already knew her, which in a way she did. They had spoken on the phone twice when setting up the medication deliveries. We spent that afternoon in the sunroom. I made coffee. Sarah brought pastries from a bakery near the hospital. Grandma told embarrassing childhood stories about me. Victoria laughed so hard at one point she had to wipe tears from her eyes. Later, when I walked Grandma back to the car, she leaned on her cane and looked up at me. "She is a good one," she said. "Do not lose her." "I am trying not to," I said. She squeezed my fingers. "And make sure she does not lose you either," she said. "She has that look. The one people get when they spent too long alone." I glanced back at the house. Through the window I could see Victoria watching us. She lifted her hand in a small wave. My chest felt full. Weeks turned into months. The foundation's first project started. We paid for a ramp at a small brick house on the south side. I helped measure and drill while a contractor installed it. The woman who lived there cried when she rolled down it for the first time. We helped a veteran get a system to drive his old truck again. When he gripped the adapted steering wheel, he looked 10 years younger. Each success lit something inside Victoria. She kept standing at the parallel bars every morning. 10 seconds, 20, 30. Then one day she did not sit back in the wheelchair right away. "Hold on," she said. Her hands moved. One forward, one back. Her right leg dragged a little in the brace, but it moved. Then the left. Slow. Awkward. Shaky. She took one step, then another. 5 in total. By the 5th, sweat ran down her face. She lowered herself back to the chair, breathing hard. She looked at me with wet eyes. "I walked," she said. "Maybe not the way I used to, but I walked." I did not trust my voice, so I just nodded. She reached for my hand. I squeezed it. That night we sat on the terrace again. It was cold, but we had blankets. The sky was clear. Stars dotted the dark. "Do you remember the first thing I said to you?" she asked. "In person," I said. "You said, 'Another one,' quote." She laughed softly. "After that," she said, "you said nobody lasts a week living with you," I said. "That they all leave." She turned her head toward me. "And what did you say?" she asked. "I said if you wanted me gone, you would have to dismiss me," I replied. "Otherwise I was not leaving." She watched me for a long moment. "You could leave now," she said. "We both know it. Your contract is long over. You have skills. You have options. You have a family that needs you." "I do," I said, "and I am not leaving." "Why?" she asked. It was not a test this time. It was a real question. I thought about it, really thought, because I wanted to say it right. "Because I found my place," I said. "My family, this house, the foundation, you. All of it. I do not want to walk away from that. Not for more money. Not for an easier life." I spent years fixing broken wires for people who did not know my name. Here, I feel like what I do matters, like I matter, and a big part of that is you. Her eyes shone in the dim light, I am not easy to live with, she said. You know that. I do, I said, smiling a little, and I am still here. She laughed once, a soft sound. Then her face grew serious. I love you, Marcus, she said, not because you stayed 1 week or 4 months, because you keep choosing to stay. Every day. I love you too, Victoria, I said, not because you are strong or rich or building a foundation, because you are you, even when you were trying to push me away. She shifted her chair closer. Our knees bumped. I did not move back. Come here, she said. I leaned in. She lifted her hand to my face, thumb brushing my cheek. Then she kissed me. Not rushed. Not hungry. Steady. Sure. The first time we kissed, it felt like something delicate might break. This time, it felt like something solid, locking into place. When we pulled back, she rested her forehead against mine. You will not last a week living with me, she whispered, teasing the old line. I smiled. Too late, I said. I already did. Now you are stuck with me. Quote, Good, she said. We stayed out there until the cold finally chased us in. Inside, the house did not feel like a museum anymore. It felt like a home. Not because of the furniture or the art, but because of the people inside it. Her, me, the staff, the voices on the phone from people we were helping. My family, the life we were building. I used to think strength was about holding on to things alone. Now I know better. Real strength is letting someone in. Real love is not a big speech or a perfect moment. It is showing up when the pain hits at 1 a.m. It is holding a hand at the parallel bars. It is answering emergency calls and late-night texts. It is seeing someone at their worst and staying anyway. She told me nobody lasts a week living with her. I stayed. And somewhere between the spilled water on the rug and the first step she took on her own, she stopped being a job. She became my partner, my home, my choice. And I am not leaving.